Professor Peter Roberts is a senior associate professor at the UK-based Royal United Services Institute, a think tank focusing on defense and security. His research centers around how contemporary conflicts and wars are fought. In an interview with RFERL's Georgian service, Roberts said the way the West prefers to fight today, massive overwhelming force to achieve a quick victory, isn't working in Ukraine, where Kiev's army is bogged down in a battle of attrition with invading Russian forces. Russian President Vladimir Putin is betting on a conflict that could drag on for years, Roberts says, and eventually the attention span of the West for Ukraine, whose fighters are more affordable. According to Roberts, much will depend on the country's ability to ramp up its own military production, with Western partners playing a role. Peter Roberts' interesting question. The Western way of warfare is a concept that many people hold fixed. That maneuver, expeditionary warfare, high technology, speed and tempo, air power, and precision. And I think this is an idea that has been influential in most Western powers probably since the 1980s. But if we look at 2003, 2004, that was probably the high point and the end of this concept. What followed was a series very difficult engagements for West. Perhaps a series of lessons learned by some that the idea maneuver, time, and speed just doesn't work that way in sustained campaigns they've had for 20 years. Particularly in Iraq and Afghanistan. And what Ukraine brings out very strongly is a return, in a sense, to traditional high-level warfare that was largely forgotten after Korea and Vietnam. The long, gray fight. The idea that it could be fast was a very selective approach by the West. Hey, we can fight wars quickly, with good results. And don't forget some of traditional arms that many in the West want to sacrifice so they can invest in cyberspace and all new technology that is thought to be winning wars but is not actually delivered. RFERL So the old saying that kids will be home by Christmas is further from the truth. Now more than ever? Roberts, is it so? And I think there's a real dilemma in Western militaries. Because they are ready and prepared to fight short, sharp wars, high-tech wars. They also face a dilemma that is not how enemies fight. And I think getting votes for the enemy has been largely forgotten in Western military mentalities. RFERL, was it because the odds were so heavily in favor of the West? Roberts, absolutely. And although the odds have always been in favor of the West, you can see these lessons emerging in Iraq and Afghanistan. And those who rode around on horseback, made in mud huts, and fought World War II, they were beaten by a force of 5,000 warriors fighting with World War II weapons. So the idea that the Western style of warfare could endure and still succeed, as they predicted for 30 years, was deeply flawed and problematic. But very few people accepted this.